One thing that's great about YouTube, they have been aggressively trying to lower the barrier to entry. And I think AI is going to help them do it. It's you speaking that language. So, it's me. It sounds like me speaking French. It sounds like me speaking German. It's a really cool tool. You can use it to repurpose pretty much anything it is that you want. I think it's incredible that they've been able to synthesize personality.
I see. I love ChatGPT. That's so sweet of you.
Creator Magic Podcast.
Just before we get into the episode, would you do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button? Wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast, subscribing really helps the show to grow. And now, let's get into the episode.
Mike, how's it going?
Really good, man. So you help YouTubers to grow and thrive on the platform. So let's start with YouTube. You're all over everything that's happening, especially as it pertains to creators. So what AI features are you most excited about inside YouTube right now?
When it comes to YouTube, of course, they have a title generator that they're rolling out to help us write better titles, which just as a quick tip for everybody, you should be thinking about your titles before you even commit to the video, right? Just as a quick tip for you there. But they have that. They also have within an experimental thing that they're doing right now that some people already have is if you go to the research tab, they are also giving you some additional ideas in there. And within the ideas, you can click on them and they actually give you concepts around those ideas, including like talking points and things like that, to just kind of give you a lead on what to make content about, which is really cool. They also have Dream Screen for YouTube Shorts so that you can create just like backgrounds and things like that. But when it comes to, YouTube, they say that they have a lot of AI things coming in the future. So, I'm looking forward to seeing more, but some of the things that I wouldn't say the A/B testing tool is really AI, but that is something new that's popped up that, everybody's supposed to have by the end of the year. So that's been a really cool experiment, just kind of seeing, what people respond to best there. But yeah, really the things that are currently rolling out is the title generator and of course the Dream Screen, which everybody already has, and the new thing, which is the I can't remember the technical term for it, if it's like Idea Studio or whatever the thing is, but basically it just helps you come up with ideas and then not just say this is a video that you might want to make, but this is a video that you might want to make, and here are some talking points for that video to kind of help you put the video together. So one thing that's been great about YouTube, and I think that this kind of happened with YouTube Shorts, is that they have been aggressively trying to lower the barrier to entry. And I think AI is going to help them do it because they have the content format in terms of YouTube Shorts where somebody can just make videos on their phone. And if they can communicate well, then those videos can do okay and they can get, an audience from those. But then now teaching people that have never done anything like this before that, hey, you can make a video like this. These are some things that you can talk about, and it gives people a lead, which is one of the hardest things when it comes to just starting out on YouTube is, okay, I made this one video. Now what's the next video that I'm going to make? And then what's the video I'm going to make after that? And then the one after that and all of that. So I think that that particular tool, as long as the experiment works and they end up, rolling it out to everyone, I think that particular tool is going to be exceptionally helpful for people that are just getting started on YouTube. And for those of us that have been on YouTube for a while, like you and I, Mike, sometimes I get stuck in my ways. I don't know about you. And, I think that particular tool is also something that might help us out there in terms of, doing what we do a little bit differently as well.
100%. I mean, as a content creator, I find a big struggle is coming up with the ideas, and then having the action points to talk about in a video to make it compelling and entertaining. So it's great to hear that YouTube are really embracing that and allowing us to use tools to discover what will be relevant to our audience. I'm interested, obviously, as well, your channel is a wealth of knowledge and information for YouTube creators. Your thumbnails are really good. I know you do a lot of the design yourself using different apps. Are you using any generative AI to make thumbnails or images either for your videos or other projects?
I use generative AI sometimes, in videos. So like, let's say, for example, if I'm taking a front on shot and I'm in my studio because I'm weird about things being a lot, straight and, because my wall behind me is black. So sometimes the white ceiling will creep in a little bit and it'll be at a little bit of an angle. So then I'll just pop one of those screenshots into Photoshop, fill all that in, drop it back into Premiere, and then, just keep on with the video and just kind of stretch it over the whole timeline so that I, don't have that problem anymore. So, it helps me fix those types of problems. But when it comes to Photoshop, Yeah, the generative fill's incredible because with that, it just helps you do things. Like today, one of the thumbnails that I'm testing on a new video is the video itself is about things that successful content creators do that help them thrive on the platform. And one of the thumbnails that I'm testing right now is I have Mr. Beast in there and I have Ali Abdal in there. And for Mr. Beast, I changed the color of his shirt. And then he had this big, kind of logo thing on his shirt. And I was like, that's kind of interfering with the text that I have on this thumbnail. So because of that, let me just highlight that real quick, hit generative fill, gone. Didn't even have to do anything, right? Just had to circle it and hit a button. Where normally, because I've been using Photoshop since it was Photoshop, right? They taught us Photoshop in high school and I'm, in my late 40s. So when it came to, that back in the day, that would take a substantial amount of time to be like, hey, I've got this big patch right here. And yeah, I could use the actual patch tool itself to highlight it and move it, but then you have all these complications of it pulling in bleed from other parts of the image and things like that. And it makes the job a lot easier.
And I love your use of the AI tools there to make good thumbnails.
One thing that I will do is if I'm trying to think of a concept, if I'm like, okay, here's the video idea. So this is the video idea. How might I package this up before I, go and make the video? And I'll run a bunch of different ideas through Dall-E inside of ChatGPT, and I'll say, this is the idea that I'm trying to express. Could you make a thumbnail idea for me? And then I'll just see what it comes up with. And sometimes I might use an element from that, or I'll just take the general concept and then just recreate everything myself within Photoshop.
Talking about ChatGPT, I know you're using that in many different ways, and they've rolled out this new update, ChatGPT 4.0, where eventually we're going to get access to a voice that is so incredibly realistic. I mean, this is a concern I think a lot of creators have, is are we going to be replaced? Will human interaction be replaced? This new update is pretty profound. I mean, what are your thoughts on that whole school of thought?
I think it's incredible. And I think it's incredible that they've been able to synthesize personality. I think it's cool that, we were already able to talk to it, through the app. And already, it had empathy already, it could tell when you're, being jokey and things like that. So I think that adding more personality on the response side, I think it's a huge win. And one of the things that I think is great about that is, when you are sharing information and you are just sharing that information, like, okay, here's the raw information. Well, just say YouTube, for example. So if a content creator just shares the raw information, there's going to be people that will like that creator, but they won't really create like a deep connection with that creator because they're just getting the raw information, right? If that person doesn't express their personality through the content. But if you have somebody that shares that information, plus they express their personality, then they'll start making fans. And they'll start making fans because people will start to relate to them more. They'll start to see the nuances of that person. And they'll think, hey, I like this person because that person makes themselves visible, so to speak, right? So I think when it comes to, AI being able to do that same thing by having a personality of sorts and being able to communicate with it in a way that makes you feel like it's a real person, I think that it's going to be awesome, but I think it's also going to be scary and cause problems in certain, corners of the internet or certain corners of AI, because, I think that some people will end up leaning on that for relationships. And I think some people will lean on it for relationships and it will cause problems because they will alienate everybody else. And then for other people that have problems with going out into public, or they have problems making friends or those types of things, I think it's going to be a huge win for them, because if they have trouble in the real world, then I think, using something like that to not feel lonely is going to be huge for people.
This is going to be incredible. It might be a good podcast guest or live stream partner, right? Once it becomes really...
That's actually really interesting. You could probably start an entire show just interviewing ChatGPT.
You're also consistently recommending really interesting AI tools for creators to use on YouTube. One of the ones that I've seen you recommend and use quite a bit, which I really enjoy watching you use, is Opus Clip.
Yeah, so basically how Opus Clip works is you take one of your long form videos or podcasts on YouTube, it's got to be a video, and you drop the link into Opus Clip, and then Opus Clip will give you a bunch of clips. And it doesn't just give you a bunch of clips, it gives you a bunch of clips, and it puts captions on the clips as well, which is like a whole other tool that normally you'd have to get. And when it comes to guest podcasts, like, this conversation that you and I are having, if you were to drop this into Opus Clip, then it would actually highlight me when I'm talking, highlight you when you're talking, and when we're both kind of, jumping on each other a little bit, then both of us actually end up being on top and bottom of the piece of content there. So then it focuses on who it is that's talking. In addition to that, you can take the clips and you can, just click an edit button, and you can go in and you can change where the clip starts, where the clip ends. If you're like, this starts in a weird place, it'd be way better if I started it a couple of words earlier, a couple of words later, then you can go in and you can make those changes, which is really cool. But a lot of people think, and it's because of the roots of it, where it started, but a lot of people think that Opus is only good for making vertical content, but you can also make landscape content up to, I think the limit now is 10 minutes. To where you can take, let's say, like a really long live stream like I do on Saturdays, and you can drop that in there, and it can actually cut out 10-minute segments or 5-minute segments out of that live stream, so that you can take those and you can upload them as landscape content as well. So you can use it to repurpose pretty much anything it is that you want. It works best right now with educational type content, talking head type content, podcasts, that type of thing, where there's a person on screen communicating in some way. They're trying to get better on the gaming side because, gamers want to use it too. But it's mainly best for right now at this moment in time. If you are on camera in any capacity, then it can find you, it can look at your mouth, and it can connect the dots in terms of knowing what to show, when to show it, and packaging it up really nicely for you so that you can publish it wherever it is that you want. For my live streams that I do, they're 3 hours long. I usually get about 50 clips that I can publish wherever it is that I want out of there. So out of those 50 clips, I can usually use between like 35 and 40. And that's a lot of extra content for nothing, right? All I got to do is put in that, put in the link, and then just go through and preview what's there. But because of that, I'm uploading daily shorts to an extras channel. So I have my main channel, and then I just have a whole other YouTube channel that is just for repurposed content. It's the only stuff that I put over there. And it's got like 7,000 and some change subscribers on it, right now, and it's growing. And those shorts are, a big part of keeping that channel alive.
I know you in particular every week will do a live stream that lasts 3 or 4 hours. You're dropping like gems all the time, but not many people will go to like 2 hours and 47 minutes into a live stream and find that little nugget. So you can repurpose that using a tool like Opus Clip. That's really incredible. I'd like to go down another avenue and let's see if this goes anywhere. But we're always thinking as creators, how can we reach a wider audience? And once I guess we max out our niche in the English language, there's so much potential out there. I'm sure you'll speak to like Mr. Beast already doing this on his channel with dubs. And I know there are certain tools that can do that. What's your take on the whole dubbing and the ability to reach the world rather than just the English-speaking world?
I'm really excited about it. So I've experimented with it on a few different videos, but to be honest, I'm not sure if my content is the great fit for it. But I'm experimenting with it and seeing, because these types of things, when it comes to YouTube, just based on how their system works, is you have to do it consistently over a period of time, because it has to learn who your audience is, and who it is that responds to the content in those places. So because of that, I've just done it on a handful of videos. So I can't say yet, a definitive yes or no. But if you do have content that is more open to, like a global thing, like if you make entertainment content or something like that, I think that either starting a new channel with the dubbed content would be the win. Technically, you can, interlink everything on the same channel. But I think starting a new channel with the dubbed content or interlinking it by uploading it into the audio side of YouTube is definitely the win. So a lot of people, Mike, and I'm glad you brought this up, they don't even know that this even exists in YouTube. But if you go into your settings for each of your videos, you have a language tab. And if you click on that, then it can allow you to add subtitles in different languages. You can have your title and your description in different languages, but the only hole previously was the audio. But now they're rolling it out to where creators can upload the audio with that as well. Dall-E actually came out with a product, Daryl, but he came out with a product called dittodubbing.com. And it also does that to where it takes your voice and then it translates it into a bunch of different languages. Now, a quick word of warning for those of you that are going to get this feature on YouTube. I have this feature on YouTube because YouTube also provides this, or they're experimenting with providing this through Aloud. And if you go and you watch some of my recent videos to where right now they're just translating into two languages, Portuguese and Spanish, it gave me a woman's voice. And I didn't notice it until somebody said something in the comments, because I was like, hey, it's YouTube. It's probably going to be fine. And I just hit it and I'm like, yeah, go ahead and, publish it automatically. So when you go into those videos, I'm like, hey, in a woman's language. Yeah, or in a woman's voice. It's hilarious. So an advantage of using a service compared to just leaning on YouTube for it is you can actually listen to it, before it hits your channel and make sure that, that it sounds right. But the cool thing about Ditto Dub is they actually do it to where it sounds like you. So it's not just a male voice or a female voice. If you're using it as a woman, it's you speaking that language. So, it's me. It sounds like me speaking French. It sounds like me speaking German. It's a really cool tool.
That's really helpful. And definitely, some languages to look into. And I think it can work the other way around. Creators who speak a language other than English can suddenly hit the whole of the English speaking world with incredible knowledge and information. I wanted to maybe speak for a moment about content authenticity, because I know YouTube have made a public feature where you can say this content is real or it's slightly altered in some way, and they're kind of encouraging creators now to tag their content in that way.
Yeah, so when it comes to the disclosures that we are required to put now, the real thing there is if you are using somebody in your video, like let's say, for example, if I had like a little skit in one of my videos and I did a face swap with you, then that particular case, I could have you in there saying all kinds of crazy things, and that would reflect poorly on you if people thought it was real. So having that disclosure in there prevents against things like that. And of course, coming up, in the United States, the political scene is just a complete mess, and people are, probably going to be using it to, make people think, certain things just based around this person said this or this person said this. And those disclosures are hopefully going to, kind of help with that sort of thing too. But I'm going to be honest, I'm actually a little bit divided when it comes to that sort of thing in YouTube specifically, because if you or I upload a video and it has something like that in it, or we have just an entire AI generated scene of, let's say, a forest that was on fire, and we upload that in our content and we're talking about it just as, making the reference to a forest burning or something. If we have to disclose that, I think it's kind of not cool, because Hollywood can upload stuff and nobody has to disclose that, even though it's still on YouTube, right? So even though, we might have the assumption that, hey, this is a movie or, that sort of thing, people can still, watch that and take it out of context and, download it, re-upload it, whatever. And I think that, them putting that burden on us is not fair. I think they need to do it all the way across the board and make sure that everybody, that's using anything like that could, tilt somebody's opinion in some way, or, just make somebody believe that something happened that didn't. I think that should be expressed across everything. Same thing with affiliate disclosures, if and product placements and those types of endorsements as well. You don't see Hollywood before a movie starts, and this is shame on the FTC for this one, but you don't see before a movie starts to where it says hey, Coca-Cola was paid for a product placement in this, Doritos, or they paid for a product placement, or whatever. So I think that it's kind of shady that they only focus on content creators for that instead of making it a blanket thing. I honor that, and I believe that people should be notified that an opinion might be biased because somebody might be making money from it. But on the flip side, I think that it needs to be a straight rule all the way across the board for everyone.
Anything else that you're using or you'd like to throw into the mix? Maybe something you've made a video about that people should go and check out. What would you recommend?
A couple of things, actually. The very first is Tube Spanner. Tube Spanner has a one-of-a-kind AI script writer in there. So their whole approach to writing scripts isn't like, hey, drop your concept into ChatGPT and just have it write the script, copy it, paste it, and then say whatever it says and then get on with it. Basically, with Tube Spanner, their AI script writer, how it works is you put in the topic, it gives you the script, and then you can actually slide parts of it around. You can tell it to rewrite a particular section of the script without having to do anything special. You can have it expand that particular part of the script. But the idea that they're trying to do is they're trying to make it to where you can kind of customize everything. and then you can add your own voice to it. So it's basically giving you like a place to start, kind of like we talked about earlier, in terms of YouTube giving us talking points and things like that, is it gives you that place to start, and it does it in a structure around how people typically make videos. So you can say, hey, I really like this part. I got to make sure I'm going to include this, but this part, I wouldn't really say that. So I'm going to delete that. And then maybe I'm going to, add my own, version of that in here. But that particular thing is a really awesome part of TubeSpanner.
That's really clever stuff. Yeah. And the content you create is really entertaining, but also educational for those creators, specifically on YouTube, who want to thrive and grow. So I recommend that everyone listening or watching goes and checks Nick out on your channel. I guess that's where you'd send people to. If people wanted to know more about you, Nick, where would you send them?
You can just go to nicknimmin.com/bio. And then you can find out everything about me through there in one way or the other, because that basically will take you to all of my links.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode of the Creator Magic Podcast. Would you like to get a weekly email with all the latest AI tools I find? If so, head over to mrc.fm/Creator Magic and hit subscribe to get my weekly email newsletter. That's mrc.fm/Creator Magic.